this? Yeah, let's do this, right? Welcome, and hey now, PASW staff, clients, and friends joining us for a Thursday class. We're through the week, and great job so far. We looked at Clifford Brown, the great trumpet player. Then we looked at the German Jewish composer Mendelssohn, and then Fantasia. We're going to see your film scoring results tomorrow, so can't wait to show you that. Thanks for participating. I'm a little homesick, so we're going to talk about a very famous place in Hollywood. A lot of history there, and I think technically this should be very fun for us. Today, we're going to look at Charlie Chaplin Studios. So as it stands today, it's Jim Henson, the famous guy of the Muppets, that I think John Pazis worked for. It's Jim Henson's company lot. And then before that, it was A&N Records. And then before that, it was Charlie Chaplin Studios. So let's just start at the beginning and talk a little bit about Charlie Chaplin. I don't have a lot to say. I don't know a lot about Charlie Chaplin. I mean, everyone knows The Little Tramp, and everyone knows he was the biggest star. I mean, he really was the biggest comedy star in the world. He's British, right? And then he was so big that he decided he could create his own studio. And so these are this is what we're going to be looking at today, the Charlie Chaplin Studios. You've probably been wondering all week, and rest assured I'm here to tell you, what was the first studio in LA, in Hollywood? What was the first? Any ideas? I don't know either. I thought you would tell me. The first was the Nestor Studios, opened in 1911. So that's like Sunset and Gower right now. That's the first studios that opened in Hollywood. At Nestor, they would make one reel Western pictures every week, and then another division would turn out one reel dramas every week. So kind of like what we're doing, they were making movies every single week. We're making them every day, but I mean, for the most part, they were cranking them out. So Nestor was the first in Hollywood, okay? But so Sunset and Gower. So if we go over, let's stay on Sunset. Let's drive a little west to La Brea. Then we're gonna hang a left on La Brea, and then, which you can still do today, and then on the left-hand side, you're gonna see Charlie Chaplin Studios. Look how cute those buildings are. So Charlie Chaplin decided to build studios there. He was so successful, so prolific, writing, directing, acting, producing, even composing some of the music. The first auteur, really. He also liked it because it was close to his favorite restaurant, which he dined at 5 times a week, Musso and Frank's, which is still there. That opened in 1919. And you would go there for a steak and a martini. You still can. And it was, it's really one of the oldest restaurants in Los Angeles. But he purchased the site, and it was mostly filled with large grove of orange trees on the property. And his plans, which he did execute, was to build 6 English-style buildings, arranged to kind of give this little picturesque English village. That's kind of, and that's really what it looks like. It looks like a little fairy tale cottage, cottages. And somebody else described it as like an eccentric Peter Pan architecture. It's very cool. It looks like it could be in Disneyland a little bit. He planned to live there, but he never did. But this was, when they were building it in 1917, this was, although it's like so congested and busy right now, in 1917 it was very residential and very close to Hollywood High School. And like I said, in the early 1900s, people didn't want people making movies here. This was a quiet residential, pretty Christian, if you remember, with Dieta Wilcox. They liked their little Hollywood neighborhood, but it wasn't at all for movies to be filmed here. So it kind of raised, they were not crazy about Chaplin's studios being built right here, so close to their homes. But you know, usually people with money win in the end. Let's get a timeline. I mean, so if it opens in 1919, that's really early. And if I know you're wondering, yeah, I got pictures on the timeline. Pretty cool, huh? Still a free timeline, but I had pictures there. I'm pretty proud of that. But 1919 is very early. It's before, you know, Watts, the Hollywood Bowl, all these places that we've done classes about. So very, you know, Hollywood's really just beginning. These little English cottages were just a facade, obviously. You know, it wasn't an English village going on behind the scene. They had, you know, screening rooms, film laboratory. It had stables, a swimming pool, tennis courts, all stuff that Chaplin was interested in and liked, of course. I mean, he's kind of like, I was trying to think, like Tyler Perry's probably akin to somebody who has his own, you know, one guy owning his whole, you know, in Atlanta. And then the large outdoor sets were constructed. They, you know, Charlie Chaplin would have them constructed. 2 large open air stages were used for filming. And then the rest was just dressing rooms, a garage, a carpenter's shed, a film vault. I mean, he could do everything he wanted here. And he made all of his masterpieces, all of his films here, including The Gold Rush and Modern Times. This was smart because this allowed him to reshoot sequences if he needed to reshoot them. He could do the whole sequence here at his studio if he didn't work, and instead of having to go out back to the location again and shoot it, having his own studio, you can just shoot it. You know, it's like having a big house and just going into your backyard and reshooting something that didn't work. So that was a huge advantage. So Chaplin sells it in 1952. So he's working there the whole time, really. I mean, from 1919 to 52. And then Red Skelton takes it over and does his show there. And then Superman, George Reeves, was filmed there. But then in 1966, Herb Alpert and Jerry Moss, as we did a few weeks ago, A&M, right? Alpert and Moss, they purchased the studios, and it in '66 from there on, that's A&M. That's where they are recording all huge music. They converted 2 of the sound stages and Chaplin's swimming pool into a recording studio, so there's no pool there. The old sound stages were rebuilt into, was probably one of the best music studios in the world at that point. One of the first big things in 1968 that was recorded there was Sergio Mendes in Brazil '66, The Fool on the Hill, which was the first album to credit A&M Records. In the late '60s, early '70s, a lot of musicians recorded some of their first albums there. Joni Mitchell's Blue was recorded there, Carole King's Tapestry, John Lennon's Rock and Roll, A Kind of Hush by the Carpenters, and then Soul Train, that long-running show, was filmed on the lot there. And then in '69, it was designated as a LA landmark monument. So that's, you know, again, why we're talking about it. It's a classic piece of history in LA. So in 2000, Jim Henson's children purchased the studio there for $12.5 million. And that was the new home of the Jim Henson Company. Probably one of the most famous things, aside from Chaplin, was the We Are the World video that was recorded there at the studios, where Michael Jackson, Bob Dylan, Diana Ross, Stevie Wonder, all of those guys recorded the very famous We Are the World song video there in 1985. So that was just a little history of a cool building that, thank God, is still there. It's charming. It's so charming and so cute. Thank God they didn't tear that down. A few times people wanted to, but with these LA Historic Cultural Monument boards, or whoever's on these boards, they're saying, no, we need to keep them, relevant and still there. So very cool. There's a cool picture of, I think in the early 20s, of it snowing actually there. I mean, when LA had snow at the Chaplin studio, so that's pretty cool. We're lucky if we get rain here. But okay, so little tour of LA, little history and music tour and stuff. And then so tomorrow is going to be fantastic, and we're going to see film scoring results for Fantasia. So can't wait to show you that. Okay, have a great rest of the day. Make it a great day. Love you and miss you, and see you tomorrow.